Hello, everybody. Welcome to the July monthly support call. This is Laurel, in case we haven't met before. We did have a good handful of people that did register in advance. So we may have some folks trickling in as we go along, and that's all good. But before I go further, I just want to make sure you can hear the sound of my voice. If so, if you could raise your hand under the reactions option. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. And welcome. Welcome to everyone that's here in this moment and to all that join in the future on the replay. It's such a pleasure to host this monthly call. I always walk away feeling lighter and more free, and I actually get as much out of this as everybody else that's joining. It's if you haven't facilitated with others before, there's just something that happens, where we all, receive the benefit of what this space provides. So for anybody that may be new, what this is going to look like is, first and foremost, this is an opportunity to receive support using the Sedona method, which is a technique that allows us to reconnect with our natural ability to let go. It becomes habitual to hold on to past traumas and hurts and upsets and all the things that cause contraction in the body. That's a learned response, and we get really good at responding in that way. So the Sedona method is a very gentle approach to unwinding and releasing anything that we're holding on to that is getting in the way of living and experiencing life the way that we would like to. So we're going to be using that technique, and we can do one-on-one support, and we can also do group releases. So I wanted to, if anybody's just kind of like not wanting to use their voice, and you have something that you'd like us to look at, then I invite you, just to say something in the chat. If there's a topic or an area that you'd like to do a group release, then you don't have to, you can just be silent and receive. I know often when I'm on calls like this, participating, I want to be in the space, but I don't necessarily want to raise my hand. So if there's anything that you would like us to look at, please feel free to include that in the chat, and we will get to that as time permits. And then also, if you've been working with the Sedona method for a while, or you're new to the technique and you have questions, all questions are welcome here, as well as any gains, any area that you have received benefit from using this technique in your life. It's a wonderful thing to share those gains, to inspire others and let them see what's possible with this technique. And I just want to start with something that's in my space. Is the last time I hosted this call, there was something weird happening with my connection, and it kept dropping out. And I've looked into it and haven't been able to really figure that out. And so there's a little bit of anxiety in my space of thinking that might happen again. So I thought I would just start with a group release around that, because I think this is an area that we can all relate to. When there's something that happens in our life, maybe even as a child, and we begin to develop these beliefs or thoughts that it's going to happen again. And we spend a lot of energy anticipating this future event that may or may not happen. But that anticipation can cause a lot of tension and anxiety and a whole list of things that may be unnecessary. So I thought we'd start with that. And I hope, maybe you have something going on in your life now, or maybe there's just an old belief, based on something that happened in the past that really feels true for you. And, we often go looking for validation or verification that these unwanted beliefs are actually true. So I invite you to just take a moment and see, is there anything that you're anticipating happening that is causing some contraction or limitation in your life? And this can even show up with body sensations. There might be a familiar pain in the body, or feeling, or what's labeled as a disorder or dis-ease that we're anticipating is going to continue. And just as a caveat, this is not a replacement for any medical, advice or treatments. But there's a lot that the mind plays a big role in how the body functions. Taking a moment to just check and see, what am I anticipating is going to happen? For me, it might be anticipation that we're going to have a problem with our connection. That's going to disrupt our time together. So can you notice any thoughts, thinking that there's something that's going to happen? And I don't want it to happen, but I'm directing energy. I'm directing my life force towards the thought that this will happen at some point. So could you notice any thoughts that may be arising around this future hallucination? This idea that this thing is going to rear its head at some point. Could you welcome whatever thoughts may be connected to this, or appear to be connected to it, this future event? And notice how this feels. What emotions are here? There may be some anxiety, some worry, fear. What are the feelings appear to be connected to this anticipation of a future event? Could you pause to notice those feelings? Could you allow whatever is here in this moment? Could you make space for that? Could you allow yourself to feel that way as much as you do? And then notice any response from the body. What does it feel like within the body when you're anticipating this unwanted future event? Is there a sense of anxious or nervous energy? A contraction? within the body. Notice if it feels like the body is kind of closing in on itself, bracing itself to protect what's to come. Versus that sense of openness when we feel safe and at ease. So whatever sensation is here in this moment within the body, just simply allow that. And if it's an unwanted sensation, I invite you to breathe in to those areas of the body. Deep breaths, especially exhales through the mouth that make noise, are signals to our nervous system that we're safe. A very quick and easy way to shift out of a fear response. You can also place a hand in any place of the body that may be bracing itself or has a sense of contraction or unease. And that gentle touch is a wonderful way to signal to the body, a way of welcoming or noticing what's happening within the body. And whatever you're noticing in this moment, I invite you to just look and see what story is being told around what's happened in the past and what may happen again in the future. And all the reasons that you have to prove that this is going to be true. And could you simply notice that this is merely a story? Words and thoughts that come and go as they do. And for a moment, can you relax and just simply notice the story? Notice the witnessing of the story or belief. And notice that you are not the story. This thought around what's going to happen or might not happen. Notice that is a thought that comes and goes. But there's an aspect of you that remains constant and steady. A part that's unchanging. And this is the true essence of who you are. Not the thoughts that come and go, the feelings that arise and dissolve, or the sensations that appear and disappear. These are all aspects of this human experience, but are not who we truly are. Can you notice anything that you've identified with regarding this situation, this event that you're anticipating? Noticing how any of that feels personal. And then could you look beyond all of this any sense of anticipating of what's to come or holding on to what was. And could you notice this moment right here, right now? The sound of my voice, the surface that you're resting upon, any smells, any tastes, whatever your senses are noticing in this moment. What's here right now? And could you be open to the possibility of being free, of being pulled in any direction outside of this moment? Could you be open to the possibility of living life here and now? As best as you can. Just for now. And in that welcoming of what is, I invite you to notice any shift in this mind body since we began this release. For me, all that nervousness around, is the connection going to work or is it not going to work, has totally dissolved. And I feel present, open, light, and at ease. So this is the core of our being. And the mind is not taking us somewhere else. The sense of being here now. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that with me. And the floor is now open. I see Catherine has had her hand raised. Anyone that would like assistance, feel free to raise your hand or go ahead and post something in the chat and we can do a group release that way as well. It's all you, Catherine.
Hello, Laurel.
Hi.
Interesting. Some of what you brought me through with that anxiety is what I wanted to ask for some help with. I have this, I would say, highly evolved skill of stabilizing chaos. I have been doing that since before I can remember, I'm sure.
Right.
And it's a great skill to have, especially if you work in a highly stressful place. Like giving anesthesia, you don't want to react. You want to be calm and be able to order chaos, right?
Yeah.
But right now, I'm in a place in my life where there's huge changes going on. And I understand that, my guidance is telling me, maybe you don't need to order chaos. Maybe you need to let change happen without so much control. And we kind of just talked about some of that. And on some level, you were saying it opposite than the way I'm feeling. I need to let go of it. I need to be at peace in that. I'm really good at being at peace in madness. But I can see that maybe who I am is so deeply instinctually created. It may not actually be my whole, my purpose to be so stabilized, and I think even I may interfere with people in my life who don't want me to create peace and calm when they're learning from the challenges that life the problems that show up. So I'd love some help letting go of the stabilizer and welcoming, being peaceful in the flow of change, so I could see where I'm being taken.
It's so
My 30-year job has disappeared like in like a one day. It's going to be I mean, I see it coming, but it started in April. And I looked at all the movements in this hospital and I'm like, wow, one day they're going to walk in and say, your contract is gone, and it's coming like any minute. So what do I want to do about that? Do I want to try and stabilize that, or do I want to let it go and let it evolve? And then I started to see underneath it all, wow, I've been doing that a long time. Okay.
Beautiful. I'm so glad you're here today. I was hoping that you would be able to join us. So yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And it's yeah, I feel compelled to share something from my own experience, but I don't think it's necessary. So I'm just gonna let it be with what you just shared with us. So yeah, let's do some holistic releasing around both sides of this experience. We can really allow you to welcome what's been really familiar and then what's on the other side of that. How does that sound?
Okay, we could try. The unknown is not, I can't even see it. I can only see order, the chaos.
Yeah. So notice that pattern that is so ingrained. Noticing how personal it feels that my job here is to stabilize chaos. Notice how attached you are to that response. And in this moment, there's nothing that we're trying to make any different. So could you notice how familiar this experience appears to be? And could you allow it to be as big as it seems?
Seems to be everywhere.
Yeah. So notice all the examples of that, just like like how enormous it appears.
Oh yeah.
And how familiar it feels.
Enormous pressure to make sure it all stays that way. You know, even the weather. You're having an outside wedding. It's got to be right. I'll just order the weather.
Oh, you're responsible. Yeah, you're responsible for a lot of things.
I am.
And notice that sense of responsibility. Whether you just took it on or you were asked to do that. Maybe both. Yeah. And then let's peek and see what's on the other side of that. Could you imagine going with the flow? Setting that responsibility down. Allowing things to unfold as they do.
The flash feeling that came up was fear.
Yeah.
Right. Just whew.
Because that's letting go of wanting control. That can be really scary. As I invited you to welcome this, I got this image of like being on some kind of boat, but just this image of you're on the boat and the water is rocking, and just kind of rocking, like you're moving along with that, but like not necessarily needing to do anything. So if that lands for you, I just wanted to share that image. I'm really feeling it over here. So just notice. Yeah, go ahead.
No, it makes a lot of sense. I've been really letting it go, and
Mhm.
but I have to do a lot of self-talk, and I
Mhm.
take myself to the beach in my mind, and I just watch the ocean. And I
Perfect.
think there's nothing about it that's ordered. It's absolutely brilliant and beautiful chaos, right? It doesn't, every molecule is moving its own way, but it affects the other molecules of water.
Yeah.
And there's nothing too predictable really about it, only in big ways, but most of it's moving in flow. So in my mind, that's where I go. So there you
Yeah.
go. Hmm.
Yeah, I invite you and just to play with it of instead of witnessing the water, you might play of being, like some kind of any kind of water vessel. You could be on a paddleboard or a canoe or but something that you could really feel like you're part of that movement versus simply observing it. You just might play with that
I will.
because I think that's part of it, that there could be chaos or what seems to be, this movement happening around you. And how can I still be there and be still and not have to respond to it? Because there's nothing you can do to change how the waves move.
Mm-hmm.
So is whatever's happening in your environment, how is that any different than these waves? It's just, it's made into form, and these people that we think are, have these names and these identities, but that's all stuff that we kind of make up. And it's just appearing in that physical manifestation, but it's just all life expressing in these different ways. So just, whatever you want to do with that, but that just seems to be connected to what is going on here.
I just, as you described that, I've paddleboarded a few times with a friend who's like, a zealot for paddleboarding. And I am, a neophyte. And I just, as you described it, I'm like, we get done and she's charged. And I get done and like every bone in my body hurts from holding core strength. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
so
no
maybe
control there.
maybe it's not the paddleboard, but something where you can be at ease.
No, it is the paddleboard. Think about it. If I could
Yeah.
ground into the water and my grounding is in flow with that water and in harmony with the river and the rocks and allow my body to flow with it instead of trying to control it,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
Then the board no longer becomes something I'm in resistance with, but I'm in ease with,
Perfect. There you
right?
go.
So
There you
I,
go.
I saw it.
Okay, good. Yay. Yay. So now let's go back to the other side of it. You might even have that image of when you went paddleboarding and you were trying to control how you moved through that environment. So noticing this pattern, this very familiar
Thinking
pattern.
there's a right way or I'll fall off. And then I have to
Right.
get back on, and that's hard.
And I know the right way. This is the right way. This
Oh,
is what we have to do.
right. I don't know anything, but yeah, I think I do.
Yeah. So notice how much you're holding on to that belief that I know the right way. Which is this is like the epitome of wanting to control. And we don't just to clarify, when we want to control, it's not like, oh, I have to make this right, or like we're trying to be bossy or demanding. It's we're coming from a place of wanting to bring order to what appears to be disorder, coming from this intention of I'm going to help, this is my role here.
Hmm.
Yeah, so just notice how much you've held on to that and what that feels like for you to be taking on this role for so long.
Well, the image that came up was my 3-year-old self. I own a blue dress and blonde
Mm-hmm.
hair.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And needing to calm down the house.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
So can you just welcome all that?
That's a long time that I've been running
Mhm.
the world.
Exactly, or you think you have been.
Well, right. Exactly. Well, I've been controlling the paddleboard.
Exactly. A lot of effort.
Oh, a lot of effort.
And so can you notice how tiring that all is?
Yes, I feel it.
Yeah. Yeah. And then could you once again welcome this image of here I am on the paddleboard in my favorite comfortable position, and I can relax. There's nothing to control here. I can just simply be as I am in whatever environment, however it shifts and changes. I just invite you to welcome that, even if it's unfamiliar or scary. Just could you lean into that a little bit more? Relax into that image, sensation, feeling, thought, possibility. And then just one more time, noticing any resistance to this or any sense of holding on to what was and this role that you've taken on for so long. And I invite you to embrace it. This identity that you've had for a long time. I invite you to give it the sweetest, biggest hug you've got. And
Yes.
I invite you to thank it for all that it's brought you all this time. This has been a big part of your life. So acknowledge the gratitude for whatever reason this was here. And maybe there's a little boat. You could just send it off and say, here you go, have an adventure somewhere else. At any time, you need to pull that back up. It's available. But once again, noticing what's on the other side of that. Perhaps it's a greater sense of peace and ease, the possibility of being more in the present moment, and all the opportunities that you get to give others to come to solutions, for you to sit back and be a support if needed, if called upon. And whatever else is here for you on the other side of that old pattern of needing to stabilize chaos. I see a lot of peace here for you.
So much expansion, like infinite space.
Yeah. So could you
Just
welcome that
infinite.
expansion?
Oh, yeah. Just infinite space. Yeah, that's what I'm welcoming. And
Beautiful.
when we started, you said, the other side. And I'm like, yeah, it's like full. It's like, wow, it's everything. It's everywhere. And now I'm like, oh, that's just over like, that's just one little house in the universe. Oh, I'll leave that over there in that house. And I have the
Yeah.
rest of the space of infinite space.
Perfect.
Thank you.
You're welcome, dear. Enjoy the expansion.
Yeah, thank you so much.
You're so welcome. All right. It looks like MJ maybe next.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you.
Thank you so much for making this available.
You're so welcome. How are you?
I'm doing all right, thank you. Yeah,
Mm.
I've enjoyed that last session with
Mm.
Catherine. Thank you, Catherine. It was helpful for
Oh,
me in other ways.
perfect. So good. What would you like to look at, MJ?
Um, I'm finding I think it would be helpful for me to have another person's angle on this. I've been working a lot with myself on kind of this feels sort of silly, but waking up in the morning and just not wanting to get the day started, not wanting to get out of bed, uh, a lot of apathy. And I know it's related to chronic health stuff and just not feeling good and not having a lot of fatigue and just, never being really satisfied with what I can accomplish in a day. But is that enough to get you started or you want some more information?
Good. Well, I can get started. You can always add more if I'm not leading us in the right direction.
Okie doke, that sounds good.
At first, I just want to say all is welcome here, and there's nothing that's silly.
Oh, thank you.
So any judgment around that, just I invite you to let that go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can do that.
Thank you. Yeah, this is very real.
Mhm.
Um, when I heard you describing this unwanted experience, um, is there a sense of pressure about how you need to start your day?
No, I think it's more just that I mean, I could just lie in bed, when I get up, but I fight. It's just a fight.
Hmm.
It's not enjoyable to try to. So I mean, it would be nicer if it was enjoyable. I don't think I feel pressure.
Okay, okay. Is there any sense of expectation about, well, I should be doing this. This is when I should get up, or this is what I should do, or any of that at all?
Yeah, there's some sense of. I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff that if I did it first thing in the morning, if I just got up and was efficient, then I would actually do those things. There's so many things I'm not getting to,
Yeah.
partly because I push getting up till the last minute, and partly because I sort of get up and I just have to fall into something that gives me some momentum, and all the things I'm supposed to do for my health are not those
Hmm.
things. And so they,
Okay.
they don't feel urgent. It's, like brushing my teeth, like really? I think I might be bored or,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
um, yeah, so
Okay.
there's some, yeah.
Well, I asked this because it's one thing when you're, when there's like a chronic health thing, it's definitely magnified. Um, but when somebody, might just get sick, it's just kind of more of a an acute situation that there can
Hmm.
be this response of like there's so much of an urge to just feel better. It's like, I don't want to be sick. I don't want to feel this way. Like, why am I feeling sick? Like, I can't wait till I get better. There's just a lot of resistance
Uh-huh.
to what's happening versus like, and I'm bringing this into what you shared, your situation, of what would it look like if instead of having, and maybe that resistance feels similar to you, of like noticing like, oh, there's, like just noticing like, oh, I'm just kind of wanting to be here a little bit longer. Like,
Hmm.
I could just like, I'm noticing that this is what the body is asking for right now. And what if instead of feeling like we need to push against that, it's like, oh, I mean, maybe if I could give myself 10 more minutes and like really allow myself to be right here, what the body really wants.
Hmm.
So, and that's just kind of what I'm hearing. And that might, or you could ask the body, like, how long do you need? You need 10 minutes? You need 30 minutes? Like, what's going to allow you to, like, the body to get what it needs? So then you could have that momentum, like, okay, now it's time to get up and we're ready.
It's interesting. Yeah, I think
Huh?
sometimes there is a real physical need for more sleep, and
Mm-hmm.
um,
Yeah.
sometimes it just feels like I just want to roll over and numb out until I feel better. Until it feels good to get up like it used to, and until there's some
Yeah.
excitement about the day or something like that. And I just as we're talking about it, I'm thinking those seem like maybe two different things, but there's gray area in between. They
Yeah.
overlap.
And I
Um,
think that gray area can be really confusing or like kind of scary. Like, God, if I like totally listen to the body, I could just be in bed the rest of my life.
right. Yeah.
So that could be a little bit like I need to push it. So, and there are times we need to push, but I want
Yeah.
to start with something a little bit different.
Okay.
Just noticing as you're thinking about the mornings and getting up or whatever's happening, in the body right now, like, is there any area that feels contraction or feels uneasy or, just any part of the body that like you wish maybe felt a little differently? Is any of that going on right now?
I feel a little, I'm not sure this is what you're asking, but there's this, sort of around my solar plexus sternum area, there's a little bit of pulling in that I could call sadness.
Hmm,
Uh,
okay. Well, this is a technique that I just kind of developed on my own, and I bring it in, when there's something happening with the body. Because in my experience, we spend so much time in our heads, and there can be a lot of disconnection with the body. And
mhm,
if we're trying to, I like to really invite kind of a dialogue with the body, and for us to really create a space where we can pay attention to the body and kind of see like what's going on here and get information to help us provide the body what it needs. We can have a more of a harmonious relationship. Um,
sure.
so would you be open to trying that?
Having a dialogue with my body? Sure. Is that
Yeah,
what you,
yeah. And
yeah.
we'll just see what happens. But
Mhm,
if especially if the idea is to maybe in the morning I could kind of check in and get a sense of like, what does the body need to you know, maybe make my experience a little more harmonious.
mhm.
So
It might be a question of what the mind needs, but, but,
yeah, I
yeah,
mean the mind
start with
has
the
its own
body.
agenda.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, so yeah, just taking a moment again, and thank you for sharing all of this, all of the words as best you can. Could you allow them to just float away like clouds? Any attachment to anything that was said, allowing it to dissolve. And
Sure.
good. And then turning your attention inward, noticing the sensation in the shoulders, noticing what you described as that it could be, this feeling of sadness.
Oh, it's the solar plexus, not the shoulders.
Oh, solar plexus. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. So could you notice that area? And you might put a hand there if it feels comfortable. I think that's a really nice way to show, like to really indicate I'm welcoming, I'm noticing whatever is being communicated by the body.
Mhm, mhm.
And then noticing that sensation and any feelings that appear to be connected to that. Could you allow those feelings to be here as much as they are?
Yeah, I can do that.
Perfect. And then as you direct your attention towards the solar plexus, just as you would be interacting with a dear friend, someone who you really care, what they have to say, could you ask this part of your body, what do you need from me?
Not really getting words. I'm getting a sense of like deeper and deeper contraction, like it just needs to be really held, like
Mm,
tightly held.
yeah. And what would that look like? Would that look like you physically holding the body, or do you have a sense of what being held, what this would look like?
I'm using a little pressure with my hands on the solar plexus,
Perfect.
trying to sort of find the right, and almost like mentally holding like a
Yeah,
energetic kind of like what's the right pressure,
perfect.
how to meet it,
Hmm. And what are you noticing as you do that?
little movement through the solar plexus.
Perfect. And how would you describe that movement? What is it? Is it feel like an opening, more contraction, something else?
Less contraction,
Perfect.
yeah, a little bit of shaking,
Good.
a little twitching, just sort of normal for me.
Yeah, it sounds like that whatever energy was built up there, that it's opening up.
Mhm.
Good.
I have
Good.
this feeling it might take a while, so I'm not sure about that with this time frame, but
And just like and really just setting the space of like allowing, like, this could take as long as it needs to take. There's no pressure here, no agenda. Just holding an open space to let whatever is happening to come to completion. And I just want to check in. You mentioned in the beginning there was a feeling of sadness.
Mhm.
Is there any feelings here now?
It comes in little bubbles.
You still feel sad?
Sometimes, yeah, it sort of comes in little bits here and there.
Okay. And whatever feelings are here, that all is welcome here. But as you go through this process of checking in with the body and responding to its desire to be held, what kind of feeling came about as you sent out that invitation and responded to the insight that you got? How did that feel?
That felt good.
Okay,
Uh,
good, good. Yeah,
Doing that again a little bit now, and it feels quieting.
perfect. So I want to go back to what you said in the beginning, but there's this belief that I don't want to get the day started.
Mm-hmm.
I need to be efficient. I need to have momentum. Could you notice this belief and how you've, kind of responded to it up until now?
Yeah.
And
Not a good
and
one.
yeah, I was like, is something you want to hold on to? Maybe there's another more loving way to
Yeah,
start your
it's just like
day.
this expectation I'm gonna spend another day flailing and why bother? Kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for to love yourself more, all aspects of your being, could you let this belief go?
I think you asked before if there was judgment, and now I'm feeling the judgment of like,
Yeah.
I guess I mean, I don't know if it's judgment of me or just not liking the scenario, but just sort of another day of frustration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if there was a different way to kind of go about this that might not create that sense of frustration or judgment, that
Right.
might free up some energy
Right, or at
But
least make things more enjoyable.
exactly.
But I have had days where I'm totally tired and it's totally fine. So, you know,
Yeah, so you know what that feels like without not
I
fighting
do.
it, you know?
Yeah,
Takes
yeah,
a lot of energy to fight and resist,
yeah.
you know? So noticing that sense of pressure and judgment and frustration.
Ugh, yeah.
Yeah. And knowing that there's an approach that's going to feel better. Could you let go of this old response to what getting up in the morning looks like for you?
I can try.
Yeah, as best as you can.
Feels a little nebulous, but yeah, I can try.
Just for now. It's okay. Yeah, just for now. Just like being open to something different. And if you could, would you let go of this old response to what getting up in the morning looked like? If you could,
Yeah, if
would
I
you?
could, I would. Yeah.
Perfect. And when would you like to try that out?
Tomorrow morning? I'm
Okay.
already out of bed for today, so
Oh, good. Great. Good. And noticing any more attachment to the sense of pressure, or judgment, frustration around getting out of bed.
yeah, it's still there.
Yeah. And could you allow it to be here as much as it is?
Yeah, it's
And
actually pretty big.
yeah, yeah,
Surprised. Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm not surprised because it's been so long, but
yeah.
but
I'm not surprised it's big.
yeah,
So could you allow it to be as big as it appears to be? You might even have a visual if it just like took up space. How much space would that take up?
yeah, I'm just letting it expand. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, just allowing it to take up as much space as
Mm,
it.
it takes up like my whole bedroom.
I'm sure.
But I'm
Yeah,
yawning, so that's a good sign.
perfect, perfect, great. So, knowing that, you'd like some more space for you, probably to enjoy your environment.
Right, my bedroom's crowded. If that,
It's
it's hard to get out of bed if that's taking up all the space in there.
yes, exactly. Yes, maybe there's a window you could open up and it could just be like a balloon and just deflate and
Oh,
fly
that's
up.
a nice image. Yeah, yeah, we could do that.
Yeah.
It's summer.
Oh, great. So if you could, or I'm sorry, so could you let this go? Let it just fly out the window, just for now, and as best as you can.
Yeah, yeah,
Would you?
I would.
When?
At least some of it's going out the window.
Yeah, you can hold on to it as much of it as you want.
Ugh, yeah. Funny, I don't feel myself holding on, but it does seem to be sticky.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah, I must be
let's just
holding on somewhere. Yeah.
let's just notice that stickiness. Is there an area of the body that it seems to be hanging out, or is it outside the body?
Yeah. It's yeah, the stuff outside the body seems to be thinned out quite a bit. It's sort of my whole like upper torso,
Okay.
face, chest, shoulders.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, as you mentioned that, I got this image, just kind of like almost like you had like crab claws, and you just
Who?
kind of like claws, but just kind of like your thumb, and then
Claws?
like a crab.
Oh, crab. Okay.
And so it's just kind of going wherever it seems to be sticky and just kind of pulling it out, like whether it's like taffy and really stuck or whatever it is, and just kind of
Yeah.
clearing it out, clearing it out. Take a moment. That's just what came to me. So I share whatever comes to my
Sure. Yeah. I can
head.
work with them.
Yeah, so just if that feels helpful, just noticing anything that's ready, just kind of clear it out. And then anything that remains, just for now, and as best as you can, could you let that dissolve? Could you set it free? Just for now.
Yeah, it's feeling a lot lighter. The gentle clawing helped.
And would you let go of anything that's ready to be released?
Yes,
When?
I can do that now.
Perfect. Perfect. And now I
Yeah, that
invite
feels
you,
a lot lighter.
wonderful. Now I invite you to imagine tomorrow morning and you're in your bed and however you get up in the morning, I invite you to imagine waking up and having a different response around getting out of bed. A response that's more loving and honoring of your body. And more easeful for all aspects of who you are. So just imagining, I invite you to imagine this possibility of it being a different way.
Wow, I keep bumping up against needing to have a plan or some, I've got to do this, this, and this, or some activity or something, which doesn't feel quite right.
Yeah, could you
Uh,
let go of needing to have a plan? That's a way we kind of try to protect and control.
yeah, when I don't have a plan, I just muddle and then nothing happens.
Could you be open to the possibility that your body mind knows exactly what it needs
Hmm,
just for now?
okay, just for now.
Yeah, just see that we're just playing here. We're just kind of imagining and playing and being open to new possibilities. You be open to a possibility that there is a different way that is supportive of your body, but then you also get done what needs to get done.
Yeah, what I want is to wake up with some feeling of like positive anticipation, like today's gonna feel good, regardless of getting, whatever the activities are. Today's gonna have some joy in it.
Yeah, and that may or may not happen.
Right.
So could you just accept
Mm.
whatever is just as it is? Whether it's labeled as good or bad.
That is kind of my mission in life, so I'll work on the up. Easy to forget, but yes.
Aw, yeah. Yeah, and this is a journey. This might take a little while to,
I could be open to the possibility that the day will not be blah like I expect.
I mean, is it ever exactly what we expect?
Or
Not
what?
usually. I said, is it ever what we expect?
I don't know. I honestly don't usually check. Who knows?
Yeah. I invite you to notice, if wanting control is showing up. So as you start your day, and you might be like, I really want it to look a certain way. I want to feel a certain way, or I want to be doing certain things. All of that is wanting control.
Yeah, that's there.
Hmm. And it just starts with noticing, oh, there's wanting control again. I'm really good at wanting that.
Yeah.
Great. you know, just start with
That's one to keep
noticing it.
on my resume.
You could, have the crown, be the
Control
top.
queen.
Exactly. I'm the queen of wanting control. Just be playful around it. Sounds like some
Yeah.
playfulness would be really supportive here.
Yeah, playfulness would be helpful in the morning.
Mhm. Are there things you could look at or things you could see when you first get up? Things you could bring in that would just, help to support that.
Yeah.
That could be something to explore.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, yeah, this was fun.
Yeah, that does feels well, I'm looking at the clock. It does seem like a good time to stop internally and externally. So, thank you very much,
Perfect.
Laura.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Jade, thank you for sharing. I love working with you.
an
And
interesting process.
yeah, good. And thanking everybody that was here today. A lot of people sitting in, so that was fun. Um, yeah, we're at time. I really feel like I could just keep hanging out, but I want to honor all of you and what else I need to be doing. So just thank you all for being here. I hope that these releases were supportive, and I will be posting them on my YouTube page. So I do, if you're in the Sedona Method WhatsApp group, I usually post in there. I'm trying to get better about sending out my emails if you're on my email list, so I'll remind folks there as well. And if you're not on the WhatsApp group for Sedona Method releasing community, let me know. Feel free to shoot me an email, or if we have a few moments here, if you want to chime in on the chat, because that's a great resource to do calls like this or other types of releasing. So, but yeah, I think that's it for me. Catherine, did you have something real quick?
I just wanted to know how you access the WhatsApp group.
Okay, I will share that info with you.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I feel so out of control. It's great.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Well, that is it for today. I was trying to see about unmuting everybody. But if you want to say goodbye before we end for today, I would love to hear your voices, and thank you for being here.
Thank you, Laurel. Have a beautiful day.
Goodbye
Thanks.
and thank you. Thanks everyone for
Thank you
joining.
all. Thank you so much. Bye, friends.
Bye-bye.